time you've all been waiting for. You've all been tuned in all day. You didn't know if I was even telling you the truth, but it's really happening. We're going to be joined by Joe Theismann in just 1 minute. I want to tell you something now. We just added someone to our team here at Liquid Lunch, my friend Jill, also known as Flirty Flipper. And I asked her if she would help us get us some real key top-notch guests. My team is the best in the business, but we always want to add talent. And she said, I'll help you. And I said, well, wait, I can't afford you. And then she said, well, let me get you some guests and see how I do, and we'll go from there. So I said, I'll see. And then all of a sudden she said, how about Joe Theismann? I said, you're hired. So we're joined right now by one of the best ever, in my view. I don't know why there's not a copper bust of him down there in the Hall of Fame, but Joe Theismann, former Washington quarterback and Super Bowl champion, joins us right now. Mr. Theismann, thank you so much for joining us. I am a huge fan. I come from a huge football family. And your book, How to Be a Champion Every Day, 6 Timeless Keys to Success, is something that everyone must read, because you got one of the greatest field generals, one of the greatest leaders of all time in professional sports, telling you what you need to know to be successful. Joe, what inspired you to write this book?
John, first of all, thanks for having me. And Jill, thank you. Glad you got a job. That's all I can tell you. But no, it's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon on Liquid Lunch. The book basically is what I talk about in my presentations. And it all started back in 1982 after we won the World Championship. I started getting invited to a lot of different functions. And I kept hearing the same terms in the world of business that we used in the world of football: goals, attitudes, opportunity, teamwork, motivation, really customer service. And people say, well, how does customer service fit into the world of football? It's people relationships. It's what happens in the locker room. That's customer service. It's how you deal with other people. It's customer service. And so I started thinking, well, the things we talk about in football or in sports are the same things we talk about in business. And when you think about it, those topics are the same things that we think about in our lives. And so each one parallels one another. And I took it and put a bunch of stories together and had some great contributors. General Colin Powell is one of the people that wrote some stuff on leadership for me. And of course, I've got stories about Coach Gibbs and I. We like to do things together. He tells one version of a story. I tell another one, John. So it's a question of and we laugh about it all the time. We see stuff differently. But that's the reason why I wrote the book. And some of the proceeds will go to St. Jude's Children's Research Center in Memphis, and also the V Foundation for Cancer Research. And so It's a way to be able to give something back. I learned a long time ago, John, we're not put on this earth to be served. We're here to serve others and do what we can do to help other people.
Well, God bless you for that. God bless you for that. I think, one of the things that's getting lost in this time of great division is that America was founded on faith, freedom, and family. And those are some principles that are kind of like not as commonly accepted as you would like. I got to tell you, my dad was the president of our local Pee Wee football league. He was the local high school football coach. I grew up in a football family. The slogan for our league was building character through football. And my father used to tell me my whole life, he said, John, when you have kids, no matter what they do, get them involved in team sports, because team sports builds character. It teaches people how to deal with people from different socioeconomic cultures. And kids grow as people when they're part of a team. Even if they're the worst guy on the team, my dad used to say, find a trick play to give that kid one play in the game. And if he gets the double reverse and goes for 15 yards, you made a whole family happy by giving the kid one play, right? And that was all about building character. You faced a time where you were an elite quarterback, and LT kind of ended that, with a terrible tackle on you that just went the wrong way. I have a feeling that had a big part of starting the next phase of your life. And did that change, or at least continue building your character? Like, hey, I got to do something else now.
Absolutely, John. I'll answer the questions about LT and my relationship with him and the quote unquote accident, like people like to refer to it. But I really want to pick up on what your dad was talking about. Mike Ditka made a comment that character is who you are, reputation is who people think you are. And I go back to Joe Gibbs's induction into the Hall of Fame. I remember sitting there, and I don't have any preconceived notions about being in the Hall of Fame, but here I am. I was his longest tenured quarterback. I'm sitting in the audience, coaches at the podium. I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to get my name mentioned at a Hall of Fame induction. Yeah, he's got to mention my name, right? So I'm sitting there, and Coach Gibbs gets to a point in his speech, and he says, there's two people in particular I want to thank. And man, my chest pops out. I'm thinking, this is it. This is my moment. I'm ready. He says, I want to thank Otis Wansley and Reggie Branch for their contribution. I sat there and I went, what? I call these me moments. You have a me moment in your life where you think you're the most important thing in the world. This was a me moment. And I sat there and I thought, I can't believe it, man. He didn't mention my name. Otis played on our kickoff return and kickoff team. Reggie was a blocking fullback. So we got they played 6-7 plays a game. And then for like 3 months, I walked around and went, oh, you got to be kidding me. And then it hit me. I was so embarrassed. What Coach was saying is that it doesn't matter if you play 65 plays. It doesn't matter if you get a headline. What's important, we're all part of the team. And that's exactly what your dad did. And I give him a lot of credit for bringing everybody and making everyone inclusive in what was going to happen on that football team. Because all you need is one play to feel a part of it. I mean, I threw a block for Joe Washington against the Giants many years ago, and I became a piglet. We had the Hogs, and they let me go into their little shed and have a few beers with them and everything. But it was one day, one play, one day. And it was one of the most, memorable moments of my career. But your dad was absolutely right, everybody being included. And, of course, LT and I, we still see each other. We do play golf together, but I don't let him stand on my left side. He has to be where I can see him at all times. He's not allowed to be out of my vision. And interestingly enough, that day did change my life. I world champion quarterback, MVP of the National Football League. You'll love this. 1984, fourth highest paid player in the National Football League at $1 million a year.
Wow.
It's a far cry from where we are today.
It's almost the minimum now.
Oh, it is the minimum. It's the minimum for everybody. I want to tell you something. Aaron Rodgers is the most underpaid player in the National Football League. Right? Aaron Rodgers, no question. I mean, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, they're the two MVP guys right now, but Aaron's been doing this for so long. But and LT changed my life. I mean, that whole situation, people call it a tragedy. I call it a blessing. I was in a direction where I thought I was really everything. My ego was really out of control till that night, and then my whole life changed, and I did have to look at myself. But there's two things that happened after the incident, after the accident, injury, whatever you want to call it. So Tuesday morning, the nurse comes walking in the hospital. She says, Mr. Theismann, Mr. Taylor's on the phone. Would you like to speak to him? I said, give me the phone. I go, LT, is that you? He says, yeah, Joe, how you doing? I said, not very well. He says, why? I said, why? You broke both bones in my leg, for crying out loud. He said, Joe, you got to understand something. I don't do things halfway. Got to go to practice. Talk to you later.
Oh, wow.
That was a true conversation. Now, here's another one. So about 5 years after that, LT had a bar up of Route 3 up in Jersey. So he invites me up. They have the meetings Monday nights. They used to. We will get back to them eventually, but right now nobody's having them. So we're sitting there, and they played the injury behind us. Neither one of us looked at it. So I turned to him. I said, you know what? We're always going to be connected to this thing because of the injury. We know how it affected my life. How did it affect yours? And he made a very prophetic statement. He said, Joe, I realized that night that no matter how great you are at what you do, man, it can be over in an instant. And that every day you have to live your life to the fullest. Every day you have to be the best you can possibly be. And I don't think coincidentally that next year, Lawrence Taylor was the Defensive Player of the Year. And it was that kind of a conversation that I've had with him. And, we've been friends for a long, long time.
Wow. I do want to ask you this because, I watched these 2020s and I saw Joe Gibbs on one, and he was saying that, when we used to prepare for the Giants, and we would start running the play, and I would blow the whistle and say, everyone stop, and then say, okay, where's LT going to be? Yep. Is that like in
That's
the neighborhood?
True. No. We used to have, when you draw up real quick, when you draw up defenses, you put V's like for defensive linemen, B's for backers, C's for corners, S's for safeties. We had all those letters up, and we had one big 56 with the circle.
Right.
And everybody had to be aware of LT was. I mean, look, I lost track of him for one play one night. Here I am having a conversation with you.
We're talking to Joe Theismann, legendary NFL quarterback from the Washington Redskins, Super Bowl champion, MVP. We're talking about his book, How to Be a Champion Every Day, 6 Timeless Keys to Success. Do you see anyone in the NFL right now that has that same kind of LT impact on an offense? Like, all right, stop everything. Where's this guy going to be?
I think Khalil Mack is that kind of a football player. I think he was one of those guys. Aaron Donald is another one that you see him double team and triple team. When anybody gets double teamed and triple teamed so much, you know that they've earned the respect of everyone else. So those are a couple of guys. I'm sure there are others that play the position. And really the whole thing defensively is now speed on the outside. I mean, I feel, this is coming from an offensive guy, right? I feel for defensive players today in football. You can't touch anybody. You can't push anybody. Heck, you can't breathe on anybody. And they make it more and more difficult. All the rules have been slanted towards the offense. I get a kick out of the way they protect quarterbacks today. I mean, Ted Hendricks tried to plant me out in Oakland Alameda Stadium like you plant a tree in the ground. Matt Millen used to just get me on the ground, and he'd call me all kinds of names. Then we'd be in a huddle, and he'd go, "Hey, Joe, how's your mom and dad? Everybody, I'll be back, kid." So it was a little bit of a more social, more violent social environment, but it was. I love what these kids are doing today. And you know, by the way, too, John, I don't begrudge these kids any pennies that they can make. If you can get it, God bless you. If anybody out there is in the situation where you can make some money for yourself and your family, God bless you. Go get it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I just wish that some of these pro players would realize that the American flag that waves over every stadium is the reason they had the chance for this opportunity and the greatness of America. And I understand the First Amendment, but it really gets me down when I see people that have a tremendous opportunity to become millionaires in a society that's founded on faith and freedom and liberty, and they won't respect the flag. I think the NFL is making a big mistake, my own personal self.
Well, John, we're living in a different time right now. This is a time that no one has ever really seen before, experienced. I will always stand for the flag. But I also recognize the fact that that flag represents people's individual choices to make decisions on what they want to do. And so from my perspective, it's the way of the world right now. And I respect the people that do what they feel like they need to do with regard to the national anthem. But I will always stand for the national anthem.
Understood. I feel like these pro players are kind of held out there, and young kids like my son, who's 14 years old, they look up to these guys.
Yeah. And
I think, you know, if you got to bite your tongue a little bit to set an example for young kids that this is the greatest country ever in history, maybe stand for the flag and use other platforms that are available to you. But I don't want to get you all political. Joe, I think you're one of the greatest of all times. You're an icon. You're a legend. I think there's going to be a bust down there for you over in Canton sometime soon. I sure hope so. Because you're great and you're one of the greats. And thank you. I'm going to instruct my team to go online and buy some copies of Mr. Theismann's book, How to Be a Champion Every Day, 6 Timeless Keys to Success. We're going to buy some books, and I'm going to give them away next week. Maybe my team can reach out to you, and whoever wins the books, maybe you could sign them for them or something. And I'm happy to help the cause. And St. Jude's is another place that's a real important place that's near and dear to my heart too. So any way I can kick in and help, I'm going to buy some books. I'm going to give them away to my viewers.
John, thank you. We'll arrange to have them sent to me. I'll take care of them and sign them and get them back.
All right. Joe Theismann, Super Bowl champion, NFL legend, NFL MVP, and great author. His timeless takes on leadership and how you can take his thoughts from the football field into business and life is in his new book, How to Be a Champion Every Day, 6 Timeless Keys to Success. Joe, thank you very much for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking a few minutes.
John, thanks for having me. Everybody, please stay safe out there.
We will. Thanks for joining us on Liquid Lunch. Don't go anywhere. It's not Joe Theismann, but I do have a surprise guest to wrap up today's show. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Liquid Lunch right after this.